All right, so there's a video from Neverending White Lights. We have Daniel Victor, the originator, brainchild. You're the Neverending White Lights guy, right, Daniel?
Yeah, something like that. Anyways.
Well, no, we're just getting to know each other a little bit here. You're from Windsor, Ontario, and my perception, anyway, of Neverending White Lights is phenomenal music, and it's you've been great at bringing together some of the greatest artists in Canada together to create this music. Why don't you just tell us the story? Start by telling us the story of Neverending White Lights.
Well, the idea was, it was to create something new and refreshing. Like, I grew up listening to a lot of music, and the thing with records and bands is that you get, 10, 12 songs of the same artist. So by track 10, 11, you're like, okay, maybe I've grown tired of Coldplay's voice or whatever it is, and you go to another band to get that sort of, next level. And being a fan of like soundtracks and music and film where it's sort of changing, I decided that maybe doing an alternative rock record that was sort of sounded like a band but had different vocalists would give the diversity to the listener, where you have these different singers from track 1 to track 2 to track 3 to track 4, so all of a sudden now you're going on a journey with different people telling the story. And the idea was to work with people that I really liked. It was about sending wish lists out to my top 20, 30 favorite bands and saying, hey, you don't know me, but how'd you like to sing one of my songs? And then just waiting for the response to come in the inbox and say, okay, he said he wanted to do it, send him the song, and then collaborate, and then move on to the next one.
So how did that work? Were you in Windsor kind of putting the music together and writing the lyrics as well, and then sending these out to the artists that were on your wish list? Well,
everything I did. I have a home studio in Windsor, Ontario, and so I came up with most of the tracks, like the backup tracks or the ideas, the seeds of something that would turn out to be a song in the end. And I'd send usually a song without words or singing. It would just instrumental music, 3 minutes of it, and then see what they came up with. So it's sort of a co-write type thing. And in other instances, I had songs that I had written. Like, for example, I wrote a song called The Grace, which Dallas Green from City and Colour ended up singing. And it was a very high song. This is not something that I would sing, and I knew that he would be able to land it. So,
did you have the melody written?
In that particular song, I did write the melody and the lyrics. And so I recorded a demo of it and sent it to him. And he learned it, and then we got together in the studio and recorded it. Most of these guys on both records did a lot of co-writing with me, just to sort of fill in the holes. Maybe they said, well, maybe I like this lyric better or that lyric better. And then the other half of the record, I just wrote the song straight up and said, this sounds like she should be singing it. This sounds like he should be singing it. And if they said no, a lot of artists just don't have time. Move on, find somebody else who has that same sort of style and register and send it. And then in the end, you get this beautiful, almost like a compilation, almost like a soundtrack. This. To me, it's a classic record. Those records that I make, they're not just, I'm not just putting out records that are just supposed to be consumed and then left behind. And one day you dig through your collection, like, oh yeah, I remember that record. It's supposed to be something that's a piece of work that you have forever, and you have over a dozen artists participating on each record. It's not something that I don't think has ever been done before. And I borrowed the idea a little bit from hip hop music, where you listen to these songs, you get a lot of featuring, like Missy Elliott featuring Puff Daddy or Busta Rhymes featuring. They're always collaborating in hip hop. So I thought, why don't rock bands do that?
That's a great idea. Are you primarily a performer or a songwriter?
I'm primarily a producer, I think, a record producer. The kind of guy who likes to be behind the soundboard, locked away in a basement, just making songs, and I think secondly, I'm definitely a songwriter. I enjoy the art of writing things out of my head and just seeing where I can take things. And the live thing was always a sort of last thought for me. Getting on stage, I really enjoy it, but I never decided, hey, I want to be the front man. I never came out swinging like, oh, look at me. It was about being behind the scenes and making the records. I ended up having to do videos for the songs, so that sort of ended up putting me in the spotlight. And
Isn't that kind of like Fleetwood Mac, where
they wanted to be more...
the guys are in the background? It's really the two women who are in front.
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks and...
I think some artists get into it because they want attention and they want to be running around on stage in tight jeans and getting the girls and stuff like that. And for me, I wanted to birth really great music, and
Right.
I had no intention of even touring these albums. They were just supposed to be records that people could listen to. And with the single going to radio, our first single did quite well here. There was a demand. So our first show, I remember in Toronto at the Mod Club, sold out. And then they had a second show which sold out. I said, what's going on here? Now we got to go play these songs live. I had no band. I had to go, find people at the last minute.
To reproduce what was on the record.
To reproduce something that can't really be reproduced. First of all, you don't have different artists. Like, I can't call 12 different guys to come sing these songs.
Not all those same guys,
No.
right? Because the logistics would be insane.
Yeah. So, then I've got to go sing these songs, and that's not something I'm really comfortable doing. So I said, how am I going to pull this off? And then we got offered a really big tour, which was with a band called Our Lady Peace, Canadian legends. And this was an arena tour, and this was within the first few months of our single and our release. And now we got to play for 12,000 people a night, and we haven't really learned how to be a band. We were not a band. And
so how did that work?
Well, we learned quick.
How did you pick the right group of people to, and how did you manage to get all the singing done? Because as you said, some of the songs are out of your register. Like, how were you able to overcome all the obstacles?
I've always said I'm not, I don't credit myself on being a singer. I don't need to, because it's not what I do. I can write, and I can produce, and I can perform, but I don't really need to be on the mic. And I decided I'd have to just do it and hope that the audience understands the sentiment behind the song, not necessarily that I'm not, Rain Maida or Finger 11 or whoever else was singing the song, that it was about the song. And I wasn't sure if people were going to understand that. And I was waiting for the heckling and people to say, oh, you're not such and such, and you're not this band. And then actually the opposite happened. So we really like that you wrote these songs and that you're actually delivering these songs. That means more. And I was very surprised that people got that.
I think there's something to be said for the person really feeling the meaning and the emotional aspect of the song. So and I've seen it where sometimes a person who's written the song can deliver it almost better than anybody else, just because it's really from them.
Yeah, and then you go to the guys like Dylan, and you go to the guys like Leonard Cohen, and these guys who are not, opera singers by any means. They're just, they're poets, and they're delivering songs that mean something. And I think they're getting more. The audience is getting more out of that connection that the songwriter has with the song himself. Yeah. I wasn't sure. In my case, people would react because, we were on mainstream radio, and usually when you go to a concert, you want to hear what it sounds like on the record. But people were really into me doing the songs, so the band got pretty good very quick. We played a lot of shows, and we became a band. And I still went into the studio by myself and recorded and produced everything by myself on the second record and on this new third record, and then I would present it to the band after, say, listen to this, learn it, call me when you're done. Then we jam it out, and that's what we're doing now.
Well, that's great. Let them get the work done, then you show up and put it together.
Yeah.
Well, when you got a bunch of great musicians, you can do that. So there's two records out already, Act 1 and Act 2.
Yes.
Right? And Act 3 is expected to be released this summer?
Yeah, Act 3 I think is coming out in July.
Okay.
It's been quite the process for me.
Yeah, and maybe we can, I don't know if that process of the record is related to sort of the last 4 years of your life, because what happened? You kind of retreated into the shadows 4 years ago. What's the story there?
Yeah, I sort of felt about 4 years ago, after I'd had some decent success here. It was unexpected. You know, I really did Neverending realize to be an underground thing. It wasn't. It was almost personal, to be honest with you. And you know, we had some success, and there were a lot of awards that came along with that, and we got nominated for Artist of the Year at the Junos, and it was just there was a lot going on, and I felt that after I delivered my second record, I put so much work into these records that I just needed to be alone for a while and not have the pressure of trying to follow myself up. And there's always sort of two types of pressure on an artist, and that is if you've had a big hit or a single, you have to follow that up with an equally successful single commercially to make money for your team, for your management, for your label, for everybody who's in the business side, right? And then there's the personal side where you want to outdo yourself. You want to make a better body of songs to outdo what you did last time.
So you put pressure on yourself.
You're putting pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I listen to bands like Radiohead and Pink Floyd and these guys that every record they were getting better and better and better. I'm like, I need to be getting better. I can't go backwards, right? So I needed to sort of find the time to develop the new songs and the new direction and not repeat myself again. And I got sort of bogged down in the idea of trying to cross that fine line between having a successful commercial song and record and having something that I personally find fulfilling. And I tend to like the stuff that is a little darker, it's a little more esoteric, it's more ethereal. And radio doesn't really play that stuff, you know. So, you know, if I'm watching what people like on television or radio, it's, you know, 3.5 minute song, get to the point of the song, sing me something I could sing back to you, and let's move on with it. And a lot of these songs, 6-7 minutes long, you know, they're really slow, and it's like, how can I combine that? And that's something that I struggled with, and that struggle took time. And it took time, and it took time. And you know, some of these associates of mine from the record companies were saying, "Can we hear your music? Can we hear your music?" And I said, "Yes." And they didn't really feel I had anything as good as I had done for radio. And I think there's a level of paranoia too, where you can't really say, "Hey, people are not going to like that song." You can't really say that.
No, you can't.
And I mean, I was a good example of that by releasing my first single. Nobody thought much of it, but then everybody just reacted to it.
Yeah.
And a lot of these hit songs, there's surprises to everybody. Like, how do you know what's going to connect with an audience?
Well, how many times have you heard about you know, a publishing company that's turned down Gone with the Wind, or, you know,
Harry Potter.
nobody will ever like the Beatles.
They got turned down, actually.
Yeah. So I think that kind of you know, there's been other artists that have gone through that same.
It's some
having to
artists,
step
they
back
don't come
from it.
back from it.
Yeah.
If you ever notice some of these bands and artists that fizzled out at one point, and you wonder, where did they go? They couldn't deal with the pressure of making another record, or they took themselves so seriously that they just couldn't break out of that mold, and it sabotaged their whole career. And I started to get into that. That's what started to happen to me. So 1 year went by, and then, you know, the second year went by, and you know, like I said, like, some people on my team didn't really think I had the songs, and then the ones that they liked I didn't like because I thought they were just too simple. So then I started writing music that was more complicated, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and then I just couldn't get out of my head to make things work. And I was taking on too much because I was producing the record myself, performing all the instruments myself, start to finish, you know, recording everything myself, engineering everything myself, you know, writing all the lyrics myself, and it's like, you just burn yourself out. It's just, I must have written 80 songs, 90 songs, start to finish, spent the money, spent the time to finish them, and then would just throw them in the garbage after, saying, this isn't good enough, it's not good enough.
So how did you come around to actually being able to accept the songs that are going to be on this third?
Well, I haven't yet, actually. The record's actually not quite finished. I still have some things I want to change, and I hope I don't get locked into that, you know, spiral again, where I don't just say, hey, it's got to be done, put it out, people will like it. But the batch of songs I have now is about 12 songs, and they're the ones that over the past 4 years have stood out. I kept going back to saying, wow, I still like this song, I still like this song, I still like this song. Okay, you made the team, you made the team, you made the team. And then that's what I'm going to put out hopefully this summer.
And have you selected all the artists that are going to participate?
Well, the interesting thing here is that I was actually going to sing this record myself.
Good.
Just to bring that very close-knit personal relationship I have with these songs to the table. And I did decide though to sort of split the difference, and I did get a couple singers to come in, but the majority of the record is myself.
Now, you mentioned that you know, the songs tend to be not exactly radio friendly or don't fit into traditional radio formats, and yet people love it anyway. Are there going to be some singles on here that are going to get some hopefully some air?
Well, we have to ask the radio stations if they'll play it.
Yeah.
But we just released our first single 3 weeks ago. It's called Falling Apart. It features a young artist from Abbotsford, British Columbia, named Evan Conrad, and he's from a band called Bed of Stars, and I recently just signed him to my record label. And he's absolutely unbelievable. If you hear this kid sing, he will just melt you. His voice is pristine. So I had to feature him and show the world who he is, and he's on our lead single, and we just finished shooting a video for it, which hopefully Much Music will start playing soon, and then we'll probably do a couple other singles. I mean, this record is in a sense more commercial, but it's a step forward. So the songs that are doing things on the sort of darker spectrum are still going that way, and the stuff that's more commercial is still going that way. So it's a step forward. You know, are we going to have immense commercial success again? I don't know. But I'm not trying to sell out. I'm not trying to make music that I think, you know, the radio stations are going to like on purpose. I just want to make really great records and give people the credit that they have the patience and that they have the brains and the capacity to like music that is a little bit left of what is on your, you know, mainstream radio all the time. I think people can get it. People do get it. Radio doesn't give them enough credit. TV usually doesn't give enough credit. I think people are smarter than we think. And, you know, when you look at the bands through history that have done really well, like the Floyds and the Radioheads, it's like, you know, there's a market for that, people like that. We don't have to give them sugar-coated pop songs all the time. You know, no offense against Kesha and these artists, but there's not a lot of substance going on there. So I think we don't give people enough credit musically.
How is the Neverending White Lights been accepted outside of Canada? Because you use a lot of great Canadian artists, but how is it being accepted outside of Canada?
Actually, we released in Australia, which is interesting, and we had a lot of fans there. We haven't had a proper American release, and we have a lot of people saying that our sound isn't particularly Canadian sounding, although we're very Canadian.
Yeah,
it's more sort of British.
Well, it's like Universal. I mean, it reminds me of, you know, you mentioned Pink Floyd, Radiohead.
Yeah, a lot of my influences are from the UK. So a lot of the melody lines I write and production ideas I get are from sort of the UK scene. And I think that across the pond they would really respond to what we're doing, but we haven't even branched there yet.
Well, I mean, we were... let's talk just briefly. We don't have a lot of time left, but about the music industry. I mean, things have changed. And things keep changing in terms of sales of CDs are falling in free fall. Downloading is not going away. What are your thoughts about where the music industry is going?
Well, you know, there's been a very serious declination in sales for the past 10 years. And that's not just attributed to piracy and downloading, but also what record companies were doing by focusing on flash in the pan bands to make money and dropping them. So there's no artists anymore. You notice the classic artists like the Springsteens and the Princes and the Madonnas, they're not around anymore because the labels have stopped betting on them for the long term. So if you're not producing something that's going to sell within a short period of time, they drop you. So that combined with piracy and downloading has sort of just, you know, it's just changed the industry. And I think the problem from here on is the generation growing up with downloading doesn't understand the value of a record because they're not going to the record store to buy it. I grew up going to the record store to buy it, so I understand it. I think all my generation does. If I had a kid today, all he's going to know is, okay, either do I pay the 99 cents on iTunes for the track or do I just download it for free? So the value isn't there. So music will not be taken seriously until something changes, and I'm not sure that's going to happen.
Well, it's interesting. It's like the question is, what is the product Is the product just the music? In the old LP days, the product included a
Yes.
a 12-inch by 12-inch piece of art as well, which kind of diminished when
And
the
it's
CD came out.
it's a beautiful thing to own. Your record collection, your albums,
Yeah.
you know, even your CDs. You have the packaging. You could look at it, smell it, put it
Mhm.
on. And now with digital, I think you can just fit so many songs in your iPad
Yeah.
or your iPhone, and you don't really need that stuff, you know.
Mhm.
So the problem is that music just it gets you know, just it gets thrown away, and the value of it is completely diminished.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't know that from here on, I don't know that that's going to change. I mean, I can go to Starbucks and buy a coffee for, you know, what, $1.49 or $2 and not think twice. People won't pay 99 cents for a song
Mhm.
that probably took me personally 4 years and a lot of stress and pain, personal anguish just to get this thing out, and it's not even worth it to people to buy it, because it's not that they don't want to, it's just they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're so used to just, I'll torrent it or I'll download it for free or whatever, and it's
Mhm.
99 cents. It's less than the price of coffee
Mm-hmm.
or a McDonald's hamburger. No, I'll rip it for free. You know, it's like it's so, but you can't. I mean, you can't fight people on it, and you can't do that. You have to just embrace that. That's what technology has brought us to. The last time this happened was when recorded music took over from performance back in like the 30s or 20s. You would go see a symphony, you'd go see a live performance. And then they all got mad. The musicians got mad. He says, well, now you've got recorded music. You can buy the recorded music. They're not going to come pay for us to play live anymore.
Mhm.
There was a whole uproar. That's the last time that this happened.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost the reverse now.
Yes.
And part of it is the experience of going to see the band.
At least we
perform
still
live.
have live shows. You cannot steal a live show yet.
All right. So Daniel, so we can look forward to the CD Act 3.
Act 3, Love Will Ruin.
Love Will Ruin, coming out hopefully this summer. And any plans to tour or perform live?
Absolutely. We are looking to tour in October, so we'll be out there in the fall.
All right. Well, listen, great to meet you. Great to have you on the show today. We're going to actually watch a video. What are we going to see here as we go?
I believe we're going to do one of my first singles.
Okay. Great. And if people want to get in touch, stay in touch with
Yeah,
you.
please,
Neverending
please
White
on
Lights.
Twitter, I am Neverending. On Facebook, it's just straight up Daniel Victor, and our website, neverendingwhitelights.com.
Great. Okay. Daniel, great to meet you. Great to have this conversation.
Likewise.
Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
And here is the video, and that's it for the show, Marla.
Okay, it was good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, as
Mhm.
always, on a Thursday. So we'll see you next Thursday, and
Okay.
we'll see everybody else tomorrow at noon for more Liquid Lunch right here on ThatChannel.com.
You pray to stars that can help you get by, and all at once you forget to try. I know that if you let me, we're never gonna